So we got our Mageblood. Took about a week. And this league, this is probably going to be the easiest way to get a Mageblood this league. You're almost guaranteed if you have a strong enough character with the Valdo maps. But say you don't even do that, Magebloods are probably going to run cheaper than anything. And this league mechanic is cracked. I mean, it's like Nemesis 3, honestly. So I just want to go over how I got my Mageblood, some of the tricks that I did, how I got lucky with it. And, hopefully I can help some of you guys that are looking to get a Mageblood or, a Headhunter or some sort of like really expensive item as quickly as possible, because that first week or two is really where the bulk of your, big ticket items are going to come from, just because of where the markets are at. And then obviously over time goes on, the prices inflate. So you want to be able to get your stuff quickly. The first two things that I want to point out is that I particularly do not run league starters that are... I tend to play league starters that I think are going to be fun, something that I want to build into, not necessarily the most efficient league starters. So something like a tornado shot or a lightning arrow or some sort of like dedicated MF farming, those are going to be far more efficient. I've just played them so many times. I'm just kind of, I'd rather just play something that's a little different and that's a little bit more fun. The second thing is that like time in maps is probably the biggest thing. Just playing the game and, constantly getting rolls and rolls and rolls, meaning like drops. That just increases your chances of dropping something big, increases your play time, increases your currency per income. Sitting around looking at POB, sitting around in hideout is really like the worst thing you can do. You really just want to get in there and blast and set up like really nice long farming sessions, and then you can trade afterwards. Those are like two really big things that I think are important. It's like obviously your time in maps, the build, the efficiency of your build, all of these things are going to play a role. And then the third thing is I want to say like speed, but it's the faster you can get this stuff done in the earliest time is the better. So when I was like first starting to buy apothecaries, they're around like 30 divines, and they quickly move up to like 60 divines in like the next day or two. So you can see how that exponentially increases, and that exponentially increases the time it takes to get those items. So being able to like quickly get some of this stuff done is in your favor. So just stuff to think about. Now, if you really don't care about any of that stuff, you just want to play at your pace, and you want to, play builds that are different and builds that are fun to play into, or builds that you've never played before, you can still make the currency. You can still absolutely make the currency that's needed to get big ticket items. It's just gonna take you a little bit longer. You're just gonna need to save up a little bit more. So here's some of the strategies that I employed. The first thing that I did, this build is really good at invitations. So the first thing that I did was I spec'd into destructive play, which is this node here. And I spec'd into map nodes. You spec into remnants of the pact, conquered conquerors, and you just fucking run map bosses. You don't care really about anything else. You just run map bosses. I was doing that and harvest. And you're going to collect a shitload of elder maps, elder guardian maps, shaper maps, conqueror maps. You're just going to collect like a whole bunch of these, and you can do one of two things. You can sell these maps, or you can run them and sell the frags that come from them. It really is up to you. They sell for about the same as like you would get for a frag, but running them also increases the drop rate of, the items that come from them. So if you do this early enough, right, all those shaper items, those shaper bases, those elder bases, especially like those conqueror bases, like the hunter bases, those you can sell too. So there is like a good amount of money to be made by actually running them and not just selling the maps. Plus you're still going to get the frags out of them, right? So it's just a good idea it's just a good farming strat. And destructive play is just crazy. Like you're going to get an invitation. You're going to get like, the I don't know what they're fucking called. I'm so bad at this. You're gonna get all these like invitations. They're just gonna drop like candy. These maps are gonna drop like candy, and it's just like such a quick way. If you have a build that can just obliterate these bosses, it's just such quick way to start building like strong income. And then once you start building out your atlas, to getting to 100%, which I'm not even at 100%. I'm still missing some invitations. You can start speccing into like some side income. So what I did was harvest. I did some expedition, I believe, and I think that was it. And that was all I was doing, was just running maps, hidden map bosses, killing map bosses. I was actually running the fragments and getting like the uniques and the stuff that comes from that. It's something you can think about if you have a build, is you can just do boss carries, invitation carries. That's like a great way to get income. But that's all I was doing, and I was making pretty good income. I was able to get my first apothecary in like day 3, I believe, and I was on my way to getting the second apothecary. But then something happened, and they released the Valdo maps. So this is where that sort of like time, hours played, that experience starts to come into play. So these Valdo maps, they guarantee you unique if you can complete them. And I was like, all right, let's see what they got. Let's see what Mageblood, let's see what kind of Mageblood ones there are. Most of them are really tough, right? So if we just go and we look at these Valdo maps here, most of these Mageblood ones are like really tough. So they're not worth that much, because the risk of running them and bricking your run and just, wasting that currency, like this is like a crazy map, right? It has the feared, you have to be melee distance, you have no movement skills, and you deal 10% less damage per equipped item. So if you have a fully equipped item, you're dealing 100% less damage. I'm not even sure how you're supposed to run this, and if you die, your character is gone. So these aren't really going to be worth much, but there are some, if we kind of move up here, and we look at some of these more expensive ones that are closer to the price of a Mageblood, some of these are pretty easy, right? Some of these aren't too difficult, especially for a geared character, especially for a character that is like with a group play and they just have like a specced out character in day 1 or day 2. Like they can get these, and I'm sure they're getting them, and they're making tons of money. Oh my God, as we speak, someone just ripped. So when you see this is awesome. This is one of the coolest things about the new league. If you see this, this means someone tried a Valdo map and they died, because this is a softcore trade map. That's awesome to see. And then you go to global and everyone's going, "Oh my God, it's nuts! Let's go, let's go!" It's just such a great addition to the game, kind of. But anyways, some of these maps are definitely doable. So I was like looking through them, and I saw one guy was selling this map here, the Cabal's Cigarette, at an incredibly compromised price. I think I think his asking price was like 50 divines. So I offered him an apothecary plus I think 10 divines. Maybe it was like apothecary plus 20 divines. And I was like, oh, I'll just run it. I'll just buy this and run it and then have my Mageblood. I'll just make another character that can make this. This is, it's just the rares and uniques are tormented, which is tough because I did run build or maps that are similar to this, and it is tough. It's not like a walk in the park. But you have the portals, there's no feared, and you just can't die. So if you have a tanky character that can kill tormented spirits, you have a Mageblood, right? That's simple. So I bought one of these, and then I was starting to build a build for it, but I was like, I'll also just sell this. If I can just sell this off, then I could just buy the Mageblood, which has ended up what I did. So I bought it for, I want to say around like 60 divines, and then I flipped it for 160. Okay, someone bought it for 160 divines. So that means I only need 40 more divines, basically, to get the Mageblood. And then the rest of the time, this is the strat that I use, and I was able to get it in like a day or two. So the strat that I was doing was breach farming breach, farming expedition, farming harvest, and that's it. That's all I was doing, was farming breach, farming mechanics that my build is good at, which is breach, harvest, expedition. And I'll kind of show you what this looks like what a map looks like and how I did it. So I wanted to use Legion Scarab, Polished Div Scarab, all polished Scarabs, Legion, Breach, Expedition. I'm not going to put it on here because I don't have any more, but I was running the Chayula Sextant, and this was one of the main reasons why I decided to farm Breach, was because the Chayula Sextants are 10C. They're 10C, and you can get like a Chayula Breach Stone at least one in every 4 maps, at the very least. And sometimes you would get a boss that would drop a Breach Stone. Like that's a very common thing when you fully spec into Breach. So this was far profitable with very little investment needed, which is the kind of strats that I like. I don't like having to spend, so much time, gearing up, getting every single fragment, every single sextant, putting, multiple divines into each run. I don't really like doing that. Sometimes it is more efficient and more profitable to do it that way. But at this stage, I just like quick and easy farming, and that's what it was. And it ended up being good profit. We all know how good profit Expedition is. We all know Legion is great profit. So this is what I did. I didn't click any of these, none of these. I just did blue altars, ran it just like this, and I'll kind of show you what this looks like. And just imagine that all of these breaches are Chayulas with the Chayula Sextant. The Chayula and the breach Sextant, so you had an extra breach in there. First of all, definitely run the League mechanic. It juices the absolute fuck out of your maps. You just follow the wisps, okay? Just follow the wisps. Collect as many wisps as you can. Getting around like 3,000 wisp is like where you want to be. You at least want to get 3,000 of one color around there. And then hopefully you can get a lot of another color as well. You can also extend the time you have in the map by these like little orbs that you'll find. Okay, so around 3,000 blue, almost 1,000 yellow. Not bad, right? So that's not bad. We're going to start dropping a lot of bubblegum. We're just going to start blasting, right? Just keep blasting, 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 blasting. Go over, find your breaches, find your legions, pop them. So you can see like this build is like not bad for these type of mechanics, which is why I like running them with Maw. Make sure you're doing your altars. It's gonna add that extra layer of juice there. Okay, then we're gonna pop our expedition. There's fire, so we don't want that. Hopefully there's no ignite one. These are going to drop tons of logbooks, tons of currency, reroll currencies, which are so worth it. These maps do get rippy, especially for this build. This is not the tankiest build. So just be careful with that. Especially if you're trying to get any sort of experience. This league is not the league for XP. Then I pop all these. I don't start picking up loot until I'm completely done with the map. I'm like one of those guys. Let's find a breach. Normally there's going to be around like 3-4 breaches in your map. Sometimes your other breach thing will proc and you'll have even more. Your breach, the breach thing on the Atlas, I don't know what it's called. I like to run the quant ones. All right, here we go. So now we have our breach. Imagine we just did 3 of these, and imagine these are all Chayulas. You always want to get the bosses and the hands. And boom, there's a map, okay? There's the map. This is kind of what it looks like. The aftermath is just like, it honestly feels like Nemesis 3 with how much fucking juice these maps have and how much bubblegum drops and just how much shit you can like accumulate so quickly in this league. It's awesome. It feels really fun. This is definitely, I've been having a good time back in trade just because it's just been so smooth and farming like this. You don't really get to farm like this in SSF this early. It takes a little while to get to these points. So then I go back and pick up all the loot and we're good, right? And your net profit per map, I'm not really sure what it is, but it's good because our investment is just so extremely low. So then I just set up, a big farming session of that, collect a ton of these, and then you'll have a bunch of breach fragments left over. You'll have a bunch of Legion fragments left over. You can do these in Elder maps if you wanted to. You would just have to run the map boss. You also might have to sacrifice some of the, you might have to sacrifice altars if you wanted to go that route, but I believe the profit would probably still equal out, if not be more, if you did it that way. So instead of running blue altars, you just ran the leak mechanic to juice it, and then did the boss stuff. But that's all I really did. And then harvest, of course. Harvest was a really big aspect of income. I don't know how good it is now. Originally, I was getting around 1 divine per like 6,000. Sometimes it was a little bit, even a little bit more at like 5,800. But they're kind of creeping up. They're around like 7,000 right now. This is just something to keep your eye on. Now, I always run crop rotation. So you want to make sure that whichever life force is the most profitable, which seems to be the yellow right now, those are the crop rotations that you want to run. So you want to see less. You want to see more, essentially more of the others than you want to see the one color that you want. So if it's yellow, we want to actually see more purples and blues than we see yellows. That way we're gonna hit all the purples and blues. And then finally, at the last one, we're going to hit our yellow. And that's going to spit out a lot of yellow juice. And you're also going to increase the rate of which you're going to get the T4s. And I had like 3 of these Sacred Life Forces. Actually, no, I only had 2. Which isn't that good, but that's what it is. Obviously, you're going to get a lot of Eldritch stuff. And that's just basically the farm. It's a very simple farm process. Expedition is self-explanatory. A lot of my currency comes from Expedition. Especially a lot of the currency that you need to sustain your maps, like chisels, alks, alts, stuff like that. You're going to get a shitload of that, so you're not going to have to go buy that stuff. You're just going to load up on chaos. You're going to load up on stacked decks, and you're just going to make a lot of profit. You're going to make a lot of margin, right? Your profit isn't going to be the net, like full net profit isn't going to be as high as something like a fully juiced deli strat with a group farm and a specific build meant for that, and just blasting away. You're not going to have as much as that, but your margin is going to be around the same because your investment is just so low. Like 10C for the sextant. If you run the way that I do, you're going to be able to sustain on your map pool. You're not going to have to buy any maps. The only thing you're really going to have to buy are scarabs, because we're not doing any sort of like strong boxes or anything like that. We're not really getting that many scarabs in. So you're just buying scarabs, whatever the price is on that, which is, a considerable portion of your expense is just all in the scarabs. And that's it. And you just blast away. Just blast away, and you should have whatever you need in this league. And I imagine like prices are just going to kind of fall on everything. So this is definitely a league. If you've never used a Mageblood or a Headhunter or any sort of like big ticket item, prices are just going to fall on everything, mainly because of these Valdo maps. And once people have the builds and we figure out ways to just easily go past them, then you're going to be able to farm that stuff reliably. So that's what I'm planning on doing right now, is just building another build meant to farm Valdo maps. I think that sounds really fun. And yeah, that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have any tips or if you have any comments about the strategy, and any questions about it, leave them down below. Peace.